and to know that these divine qualities shine in us, as us. It is our divine presence. Advent starts with hope and faith. Hope is closely aligned with faith. Hope is the natural impulse of a faith-filled life. We open our minds and hearts to the movement of spirit within us and in our lives. It orients us towards God's will of good. It orients us toward that which is already true, toward the good that is already ours. Advent is a time to open ourselves to renewed hope that is grounded in faith. In 2 Corinthians 5, 6, 7 states, "So we are always confident, for we walk by faith, not by sight." In Hebrews 11:1, "Now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen." Today, the candle of faith will be lit by Leslie Wright. Thank you. Let us join together in affirming, "I am grounded in faith." Please join together. I am grounded in faith.
Let's sing. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel has come within as love to dwell.
And at this time, we would like to invite our children to join our youth and family teachers. Let's sing them off with "We Are Walking in the Light."
We are walking in the light, in the light, in the light. We are walking in the light, in the light of God. In the light, 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 in the light of God.
All right, thank you. After service today, we have an important meeting for all ministry team leaders and board liaisons. We will meet in the community room to discuss 2024 and plan for 2025. Nominations for the Board of Trustees are now open. Information packets are available at the welcome table. If you have any questions, please contact a member of the nominations committee, Carl Swanson, Ashley Schrage, Greg McGaffick, or Paula Land. Applications are due on December 22nd. And this just in, for speaking about the restrooms renovation here, I want to invite Paula Land up here.
We're getting there. So here's what's left to be done. We need our baseboards. We need to scrape some little nubby things off the floor. We need our grab bars and our new toilet paper holders, which are yet to be to arrive. So all those little last minute things. Everything's functional, but I must say that this morning we did some quality control, and the doors in the women's restroom do not latch. So enter at your own risk, or have a friend help you out by watching guard. So thank you again to Kevin Krumvita and Greg McGaffick for an incredible amount of time helping to get things started, finished, and all of that, as well as Mary Kutuski and Bonnie Boots Miller. Almost there.
Thanks, Paula, I appreciate it. If it weren't for all of those last minute things, would it be a renovation, you know? All right. The next announcement is that new bylaws are coming. So bylaws are being looked at and reviewed with changes and recommendations from Unity Worldwide Ministries. And just as a heads up, we will be having informational meetings on those bylaws coming into our January 19th community meeting here. So this is just a heads up that they are being revised and that there'll be informational meetings coming along the way. So we encourage everyone to attend, and again, we will ask for a vote of approval at the January 19th annual meeting. And now, speaking of that, take out your phone right now and put the annual meeting on your calendar. The meeting is, of course, on Sunday, January 19th, after service at 11:30 a.m. We encourage everyone to attend, not just voting members. Hopefully, you brought your gift today for the Families Helping Families Toy Drive. The agency will be picking up the toys before this Friday, the 6th. Get into the holiday spirit with a winter painting party on Saturday, December 7th from 10 a.m. to noon in the community room. The cost is $30, which includes all the supplies. Enjoy hot chocolate, cider, and cookies as you paint. Registration is required. Scan the QR code or go to events in the app or on the website, right there. The last Spirit Space book study of Emmett Fox's Alter Your Life will be this Thursday, December 5th, from 10:30 a.m. to noon. But right on its heels, the next book study will be The Trip to Bethlehem by Hypatia Hasbrook. Join them on December 12th and 19th to discuss this amazing book, where every character, animal, object, and place has a metaphysical meaning that represents a part of our consciousness. We will all experience this book as a part of the December 22nd Christmas lesson with Jan Griffith. The book is available in Sacred Grounds and Books, and you can scan the QR code or go to events in the app or website by Breeze. Yep, right down there, unitycr.org/events. Next week, Viana Kadura will be our speaker. Her title is Empowered and Resilient, the Experience of Muslim Women in the Midwest. So I'll very much appreciate her coming and giving the talk next week. If you have a prayer request today, your prayer partners are Vern and Audrey, right there. Meet them in the prayer room right off to my right here after the service. And now, please stand as you are able for a congregational song.
There's a blessing for you and for me, so great that the eye cannot see.
And now, our statement of purpose. Please join me in knowing unity is a positive path for spiritual living. We gather to create an experience of spirit. At Unity CR, we offer practical teachings that empower abundant and meaningful living. Meeting you right where you are, we endeavor to provide a variety of ways to support your path of spiritual living. Our mission is to provide spiritual awareness and share the wonder and joy of God's love.
Let's do our Ohms. It's the first Sunday of the month, so we get to do our Ohms to get us in the mood for our meditation.
Like you to. Oh, thank you. I'm the sound guy, and I didn't even think so. Are we on? Okay, if everybody would like to just sit comfortably in their chairs for a minute, both feet on the floor, as comfortable as you can after Thanksgiving dinner, I would. And we will have a time where we come into peace. As Thich Nhat Hanh says repeatedly, anxiety resides in the future. Depression resides in the past. Peace resides in the present moment. So, get in touch with your body in this moment. How it feels to be sitting the way you're sitting. Make adjustments to enhance your comfort here. And sitting in a dignified manner to promote awareness rather than a nap, right? Okay. And focusing on your feet. How your feet are feeling in your shoes. Making contact with the floor. Just reside there for a little brief minute. And then your legs. Noticing how they're feeling right now. And how you're making contact with the chairs and the pews right now, how that feels to you. And then your torso, your back against the chair or away from the back of the chair. Imagining that you're sitting straight, dignified as a tree. And then your arms and your hands, have your hands in either laying face up on your thighs or in some kind of prayer or mudra form. And then your head resting on the shoulders, head on your shoulders, just If you want, let your head fall to the right just a little bit until it comes to a natural stopping place. And then back to center. And then to the left. And back to center. And then forward until it falls on your chin, on your chest. And then back to center. And then back. And then centered again. Centered on your neck and shoulders. And now, becoming aware of your breath. The sensation of air in your nostrils on the in-breath, and the sensation of air in your nostrils on the out-breath. And just becoming aware of that aspect of your breathing for about a minute here. Now you might have noticed thoughts or sensations coming into your head, memories, and that's to be expected. That happens all the time. And when you are aware that you're no longer focused on your breath, acknowledge that. Oh, I'm somewhere else, I'm not on my breath. And just thanking the thoughts or whatever for being there, and then restating your intention to be focused on your breath in this moment. Coming back to the present moment with your breath. Let's practice that for about a minute here.
And by family, I have a non-traditional definition of it, whoever family is to you. And then there are gifts. There's the pressure to buy gifts, the pressure of getting the right gift. Maybe it's work. And I grew up in a household where my dad owned a grocery store, and this was a very, very busy season. Between Thanksgiving and Christmas was when you made hay, right? And once you got past Christmas, January was very slow. So my dad was always so busy this time of year. But I know there are plenty of people that work in the service industry, or maybe it's just year-end sales goals or some other thing that has to be wrapped up. Then there are the beloved holiday traditions, and I think it's really sometimes a fine line between beloved holiday tradition and this stressful thing on a to-do list. There's decorating the inside of the house, picking up the tree, decorating the outside of the house, baking cookies, gingerbread houses, all of that good stuff. And then there's just usually an interesting collection of events that only come once a year, holiday parties, different types of gatherings, and we enjoy them, but it's all becomes sometimes a lot. Health might be another thing. I don't know about you, but I don't always eat the best this time of year. I'm maybe not getting the type of exercise that I'm used to. There
tends to be a lot of stuff that just goes around this time of year, whether it's COVID, the flu, or some other thing that gets passed around. Maybe we have people in our lives that aren't in the best of health and aren't able to enjoy the holidays. We'd kind of like them to be able to, or even ourselves. And then kind of tying in perhaps with gifts, there's money. There's a lot of pressure to spend money this time of year, and we might feel that we're overextended beyond what we'd like to be in terms of our financial outlay. And then the last thing I had kind of on the list here was travel. We might be traveling someplace else during this season, or we're having people travel into our environment and we're hosting people. And so some of these things cause some stress, right? And I think this all becomes what I'm just going to refer to as the holiday soup. And we're all just sort of in this holiday soup together. And for me, I started to kind of think more about this because there was a really specific incident that happened. And I spent most of my adult life not here in Iowa. I actually lived out of state. So I would travel home a few different times a year. So coming home for Christmas was kind of a big deal because that was the time when, even though I had a very small family, we were all together. And so we had our Christmas Eve tradition, and we were all sort of gathered around the kitchen counter, to enjoy our very specific Christmas appetizer. And this Christmas appetizer consisted of 3 items: Ritz cracker, what I call squirt cheese, I think it's technically called Cheese Whiz, and then an olive. We are not a fancy people in the Kerr household. This was the only time we did this, and it was a big deal. So I look at the counter, and I can see the Ritz crackers, I see the squirt cheese, but there are no olives. And so this raises a red flag, and I immediately turn to my mother, and I'm like, Mom, where are the olives? And Mom's like, well, I didn't buy any. Your sister doesn't like them. And I'm like, what? You can't have the appetizer without the olives. It's pointless. It's just pointless. And then at this moment, my mom bursts into tears and is, goes to the bathroom or bedroom and is crying. And I'm like, what happened? But, it really caused me pause, because the honest truth is that when I thought back, we call that a meltdown in my house. When I look back, there was a meltdown every Christmas. At least once during the holiday, there was a meltdown. It wasn't a question of if, it was a question of who, what, and when this meltdown was going to occur. And it struck me as odd, because we all families have their stuff, but we generally get along. And we didn't have meltdowns at the 4th of July. We didn't have meltdowns at Easter, but every holiday, at the holidays, like clockwork, there would be this meltdown. And so as I was thinking about it, I was thinking about myself and the expectation I had. And even though I hadn't lived in my parents' house for probably 15 years at that point, there was an expectation, like many children who move away, adult children who move away, that even though I've gone off and sought my new adventure, that Cedar Falls, Iowa, on Oak Park Boulevard, needed to remain the same, and exactly the same, and nothing was to change there, right? It was a time capsule. And even though my sister was the one who was most recently at home, the fact that it would be her preference rather than my preference that would, dictate this, was of course not what I expected. And if I think about it from my mom's eyes, where I think is where the real pressure lied, is that I think she had the expectation that many, many parents, I think, hold, which is that it's their job to create or produce this perfect holiday so that their children will have these perfect memories. And then when she did not produce the olives that were clearly so important to me, that she had somehow, ruined my perfect memory of this Christmas. And so the social science scientist in me is kind of running through all the various meltdowns. And I think there were two themes that kind of emerged. And one was this issue of expectations and the expectations that different people have, and then also misunderstandings. And so at this point, I have another story, but I can't for the life of me remember what it is. So. Oh, so this is where we start the Christmas experiments. And so to some degree, I kind of started it, and then my sister became my kind of partner in crime with the Christmas experiments. What are we going to do differently to avoid the meltdown? And so the first thing that we did was I thought, well, how about when I come back from Minneapolis, I think where I was living, we just start the holidays by going to the martini bar. And that way everyone will, just loosen up, relax, it'll all be good. And it worked beautifully. But it wasn't the martinis that made it work. It was the fact that we just left the house, took a moment, and we're all together. And if you looked at my definition of what, oh, look, I got sound. And if you looked at my definition of what a blessed holiday would be, it would be that being present with my family. And because we were honoring that, we weren't thinking about the Christmas gifts that had to be wrapped. We weren't thinking about the makings for the appetizer or the side dish that needed to be made. We were just with each other in that moment. Another thing that we tried, or that we have done, is actually to invite others to join the holiday season with us. And so I had some connections with some foreign students from Ghana, and so for many, many years we've had Ghanaian students, and they're no longer students, actually they're full-fledged adults with their own families, join us at the holidays. And I think my sister and I would joke that, when there are strangers in the house, we all, or non-family members, we all just behave a little better. And I think there's some truth to that, but I think there's also so much we learned from having those folks in our house. And they really have become family members now, but they had no expectations about the holidays. It's not a thing in their culture, and everything that we did was all good. And that gift of being able to share our traditions and then to have it mirrored back in a way that of the initial enthusiasm of, experiencing it was such a beautiful thing. I almost feel a little guilty about having introduced them now to the Western way of the Christmas season, but they are always a gift to us in that way, and they'll be joining us again this holiday season. So all of these experiments were successful to a degree, and we have other ones that we've done. And I think it was probably mostly about being conscious of what we were going to do and how we were going to approach the holiday season, knowing a little bit about the soup that we're all in. The second item on that list of themes that I talked about was, in addition to expectations, was just misunderstandings. And I can remember one Christmas when we were off to a rocky start before we even got to the holiday itself, just in the planning phase of it. And so I was hosting Christmas that year. And so I was working with my sister to try and figure out what the scheme was going to be. And at that point, she was a mother of 2 young toddlers and very, very busy, as you can imagine, anyone who's had young children. And so I'm putting together a list, because this is what I do when I'm a planner by nature, and professionally I'm a planner, so list making is very important to me. So I'm putting together a list of what needs to be done. And I recognize that my sister has young kids, cooking is probably not going to be a thing. So I think I'm being very kind and thoughtful in terms of I'm sort of like identifying things that could just be bought at the grocery store. And then I give Andrea a call and I'm like, okay, Andrea, here's how I think things should run, and here's what I need from you, and here's the 10 items, to pick up from the grocery store. And oh, by the way, if you're bringing the dogs, bring some bones for them. And my hardwood floors get a little cold, so bring some slippers and, bring some toys for the kids. And don't forget their sippy cups. And so I'm just rattling all these items off because the more stressed I am, the more detailed the list is. And I noticed that Andrea's very quiet, and then the call ends very abruptly. And this is, again, a red flag. And so I was at least smart enough to call back and had a more in-depth conversation with her. And it was really an important conversation because I realized something that you would think, having been sisters for 40 years, it would have been more apparent to me at that time. But for me, that's how I relieve stress, right? I make lists. And for Andrea, I had taken a moment in her life where just getting through the day was a success. And she already had a to-do list, probably of 30 things she needed to do, and I just dumped on another 20 items. So that was not stress relieving for her. And so just that misunderstanding itself could have been a real issue. Fortunately, that particular year, we worked it out. We haven't always been that successful in working it out, but that year we did. And I should have given the caveat. Originally, this was going to be lessons from a Griswold family Christmas, but it's really lessons from a Kurt family Christmas instead. Another memory I have is actually with my extended family. So when I was younger, this is going to that misunderstandings portion, we would spend Christmas Eve with the nuclear family, and then we would travel to Cascade, Iowa, which is where our extended family was. And so my family's pretty small, reserved. My mother's side of the family is neither of those things. So that was always a little bit of a soupy situation for me to start with. And so I had an aunt, we'll call her Aunt B, and so inevitably I would walk into a crowded room, and Aunt B would say something to the effect of, "Look at you! You got your hair cut!" And I would just want to shrink away, my teenager, young adult self, because I never knew what to say. It felt a little bit like an attack and how it was phrased. And let's be honest, you got a haircut is not a compliment. And now as my adult self reflects on that, and I think a little bit about respective soups again, I know that for my aunt, she didn't have great social skills. And in fact, every year, kind of the number of people that she interacted with shrunk. And this is before, I think terms like social anxiety were probably prevalent, but I think that probably is an apt description. So I think this was probably a pretty stressful situation for her. But the other thing I know about my aunt is that she loved kids, and I was still a kid to her. And I think just literally, my adult self now, I think literally in the excitement of that moment, she didn't know what to say. So she just blurted out the first thing she noticed, which was that I had gotten my hair cut. I don't think there was any harm or bad intention in that. And I wish now I could go back and react differently, which is to go up and give her a hug and tell her about what was going on in my life, because I think that's what she really wanted to know, rather than what I really did, which was to sort of look for the first exit door to get to another room as far away as I could be. But the thing is, we all have our soup, right? And everybody's soup is a little different, but we're all dealing with it this time of year. So on the third panel of your card, in recognition of these themes, and if you reflect on your holidays, you might have your own themes, but I'd like you to write the following two phrases. I let go of expectations, and I seek understanding and give grace to those around me. So if everybody's got those two phrases, I'd like you to think for a moment about who the person might be this holiday season who's most likely to get you a little agitated. I mean, if we were thinking back to the Griswold movie, you know, who's your cousin Eddie? Who's the person that's most likely to sort of, you know, to get you going? And maybe think a little bit about the soup that they might be in. What might be stressing them out? What challenges might they be dealing with? And then think about what's beautiful about that person. What gifts do they bring? So if everyone's got that in mind, we'll go to our last and final panel. At this point, the tree should be looking a little bare. And describe a few ways that you could lead with love in terms of that person, or just in general this holiday season, rather than with dread or fear or anger. How can you lead with love? All right, then. And so at the end of the card, you'll see that there is a traditional Bible verse, and I'm going to see if I can get the unity interpretation of this, but if not, maybe an LUL will correct me. But just a remembrance, right, that God isn't some external Santa Claus that lives out there that's, if we pray hard enough, is going to bestow gifts upon us. But rather, God is the light within each of us, and our divine wisdom. God lives within us. And so the more that we can bring our mind and our divine wisdom in alignment, the more peace that we'll have this holiday season. And so the last thing I'd like you to do is write your name on the envelope of this card, because this is your affirmative prayer, hopefully for the holidays. And if you find yourself feeling stressed or anxious, I hope that you can look back on it, reflect, and use it to recenter yourself. I know that I will be. As we always say at the end of every service, let there be peace, and let it begin with me. Happy holidays, everybody.
Oh.
I've been working with the pan, and what I've started doing is working with, has different chords, musical chords in it, so doing chord progressions. And I asked Nina and Jason if they would join me, so I've created a chord progression, and then they're adding all the beautiful arrangement around it. So that works great.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
And now it's time for our blessings of tithes and offerings. We invite everyone to hold their love offering for a blessing, and we invite those of you online to make your contribution at unitycr.org. We bless all offerings, and we bless these baskets and the abundance they will soon receive. We see them as symbols of the potential available to all of us. As we participate in the sacred act of giving and receiving, we give abundantly, we receive thankfully, and give again generously. Join me in our offertory statement. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am grateful.
Let's all sing together.
It came upon a midnight clear, that glorious song of old, from angels bending near the earth to touch their harps of gold. Peace on the earth.
Freely we give, and gratefully we receive. We dedicate and consecrate these tithes, gifts, and offerings to the will, the work, and the way of the Christ as it expresses through this ministry of love and service. We surround these members of our spiritual community who made known their prayer requests with our loving thoughts and prayers. We affirm and know that each person is blessed with wisdom and discernment, health and wholeness, and prosperity in good measure. We release these requests, trusting that all is well. Amen. And now, our peace song.
Let's all stand and join hands if you prefer. 2, 3, 1. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. God as Creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every breath I take, let this be my joyful vow. Take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it
The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us.
I am the presence of God.
Wherever I am, God is, and all is well. Thank you very much, everybody.
All out the holly, put up a tree before my spirit falls again. Fill up the stocking. I may be rushing things, but take the holes again now. For we need little Christmas right this very minute. Candles in
Aye.